friends, and our today's discussion for this panel is role of intelligent data, multi-cloud and hybrid world. So today, with me as moderating the session, I have my colleagues and friends who are Anil Menon, Syed Pirzadeh, Vidya, and Ashok also joining us. So I'll just summarize before we start the panel, and just to set the tone. In our today's context, whenever we talk about cloud, we talk about multi-cloud and hybrid cloud as a setup. And especially when we talk about cloud setups, we are talking about intelligent data. And in today's world, we are looking at a situation where we see that the data is our key in terms of running the present and future business. So I'll just start by summarizing what is basically looking at and how the world is moving towards this data as an intelligence platform. So today, if you look at it, the amount of data generated by people, organizations, especially the machines and devices, is growing by many folds. And you look at this forming a complete competitive advantage to all of us. Companies need to become data-driven enterprises. I think that is something which is today very most important point for all of us. So today enterprises are looking at cloud-enabled organizations, making the most of the value towards that. To become truly data-driven, companies should link a data-driven strategy, and I think that is something that we are delivering for our organizations. And as the world becomes increasingly digitized, staggering amounts of data are being generated by people, organizations, government, and agencies. And one report which talks about it, we're talking about 5 quintillion bytes of data are created every day around the world. And that is something which is very, very alarming for us, not in terms of a data growth, but in terms of what do we do with the data. And I think that is something which is very important. The direction set in terms of data-driven enterprises and treating what is going to be required for competitiveness, completeness, and quality, which is going to be setting the backbone for all of us. So without much ado, I talk about intelligent data management cloud, where we talk about data integration, APIs and app integration. We are talking about data quality, master data management, customer and business 360-degree approach, data catalogs, and then of course governance and privacy for that data, which is very, very important. So today's panel, we are talking about the complete area where hybrid and multi-cloud and intelligent data is going to be the most important for us to discuss, set the tone, give feedback to the listeners, and also see that what are going to be the most important points that we could grasp out of this panel discussion and use it for our own good, for our own companies. So the key discussion points, and then we have our stalwarts with us. So I would like to go and talk about, especially in terms of Syed. Basically, we are talking about data challenges in hybrid and multi-cloud environments. And I think you being part of YOTA, you are the best judged into looking at discussing with a lot of customers and CIOs. So would you like to comment on this particular point, where data challenges in hybrid and multi-cloud environment, what is happening in this field? Over to you, Syed.
Hi, Mariar. Thanks for the question. Indeed, thanks meeting all of you, Vidya, Ashok, Anil. Yes, the prefix given by you summarizes most of the data challenges in what you can say a hybrid or multi-cloud environments, Mariar. You have summarized it very well indeed. Specifically, me being working on lots of cloud aspects in my most of my career, indeed, from last 2 decades, I can see indeed what I'm saying is on my experience of doing things. The complexity of data, that's one thing which one has to look as a priority in terms of data challenges. Complex data architecture, and which obviously slow you down. Okay, uh, maybe a data movement using periodic batch jobs, ETL jobs, whatever we do, existing messaging systems, APIs, um, engineering work results is all do bring a complexity to the network. Point to point interactions, that has to be individually networked, secured, monitored, maintained. So these all things bring the complexity. Okay, so adoption of new cloud services make these problems exceptionally worse. Indeed, if you're adopting cloud or any new technologies without a proper plan for your data setups, will make this problem exceptionally worse. So we need to be very much planned on that. Uh, Even if we go on premise, so there are various methods, like there are cloud native applications, there are hybrid applications or hybrid setups, I can say, or on premise setups. People, we as a CIOs always do as per our business need. Uh, but again, more on that, more layers we keep on adding, the more complexity will increase. That is one aspect. And then one point, you have spoken well about data access control. The threat landscape is working quickly. The enterprise needs to be adopt unified approach to hybrid and multi-cloud security. Okay, what type of data will be moved to cloud? What data is stored on premise servers? What are the security vulnerabilities you should focus on? How can we ensure compliance? These are all questions we need to answer before we plan our strategy. Of course, speed up compliance. So compliance, compliance specific industries like health insurance, accountability, finance, BFSI. Of course, this will add more layer to complexion. That's
Right.
these are,
Right.
I see a more challenges in terms of data composition.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the challenge is probably you have handled the CIO role for a large media company. So I think that's coming as a good prospect for all of us. And now in Yota as a service provider to the CIOs like us. So I think it's coming as a point blank great approach for how to do things. So I'll go to Ashok. Ashok, the same question. When you look at Page as a manufacturing industry setup, how would you like to advise people on this same data challenges in hybrid and multi-cloud environment?
I think the evolution is pretty clear according to me. I have seen it happening because I think all of us have seen it happening. We have been in the industry for quite long. So like from the on-premise, then we might move to sort of hybrid, and then we are talking about multi-cloud today. Okay, we are really talking about going full-fledged in the cloud. I think it's an evolution, and as I see things, it's also all about gaining confidence, and it is about getting the ecosystem and the complete, what do you call, whole and software, engineering, everything falling in place. There was a lot of challenges on the privacy and the so many things, like but now even the financial institutions are very much in cloud. So I think it is really a matter of time, as I see, to get on to a hybrid and then on move to multi-cloud or single cloud, whatever it may be. It is like totally into the cloud. I think some of the factors which is going to drive or accelerate this is going to be the, as I see, a big push is being given to this entire opportunity by SaaS. So SaaS is a big time thing which is really caught up, and in my own experience with Page, we have actually subscribed to many SaaS tools for a very mission critical stuff. So we believe that there's no point in going into sort of going after the infrastructure and putting all the efforts behind it. So we are really looking at things. We are just when you're looking at subscribing things. It is so easy to understand. It is so easy to sort of implement. It is so easy to maintain. The service levels are assured. And things are good to go. So as as the application landscape matures, as more and more applications become ready for cloud and may be made for cloud, not just zabardasti put into cloud. That's another big problem which we all of us are facing. Actually it's not made for cloud, it's actually put onto cloud. So then we all go in circles to sort of manage it in the cloud, and then they say the cloud is bad. Actually it's not cloud but actually pulling it down because application was not really ready. So as more and more modernization happen in the application, as more and more sort of platforms as a service, software as a service picks up, I feel that it's just a matter of time. It'll be either multi-cloud, it will not even be a hybrid cloud. I feel that even hybrid also will fade away. It's just a matter of time where we feel that some things have to be kept internal. That also is the myth, according to me. It's just going to just fade away as the other opportunities become compelling. So some of them have this type of problem. So we think twice, thrice before moving because the application is not ready. How will things move? So there are concerns in the minds of CIO and obviously in the business leadership as well. So as the complete ecosystem matures, I think it's just going to just transcend. Just going to migrate and smoothly sort of park ourselves everything into the cloud. So
Right.
I'm not seeing those days where very far where we talk about now born in the cloud companies and very traditional companies also. Actually it's just a matter of time they all will embrace cloud because as they see the sort of leverage and the benefits, it's compelling. But see, I also want to actually touch upon another interesting or sort of not very discussed topic, because a lot of people feel that cloud is infrastructure. Actually it's not infrastructure, it's much
Right.
beyond that, and it requires a lot of different skill sets within the internal ITs to select, manage, govern, and make the cloud a success. It is not a something like just because you manage data center doesn't mean that you are ready to manage a cloud. So I think we are all coming from a very different traditional mindsets, and as the mindsets in the IT folks also change, and as we ourselves become ready to govern it in the way it should be governed, then it will be like
I think,
music to ears. The
Ashok,
IT
great
folks
inputs
will
from you.
subscribe to it, and the business will also be happy.
Yeah, great inputs from you. I think the first question itself is setting the tone for the direction, because I think what we are going to discuss deeply is the data-driven architecture. And that takes us to the next question, is that breaking data silos and increasing accessibility. I think when we talk about data, especially in terms of putting it in buckets, how we are going to use it, how we are going to maximize the productivity and value for the organization. I think my next question is to Vidya on this particular point, because this is a very important point, and all other subsequent questions are going to talk about data. So I think the first question is clearly on hybrid and the cloud setups that we have set the tone on. I move to the next question, and this question is to Vidya. Vidya, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. I kind of want to add, first of all, to what Ashok had said. Um, the data definitely has a role in the cloud. How I mean that is that business challenges over the decades have been always because of the siloed data, on premises or on the cloud. Doesn't matter. It has forced the organizations to make the decisions only to the area where they're concerned. They are limited to that, and their insights also are limited to that. Especially in banking industry, we face a bigger challenge with disparate systems, and even if you get something where a third party vendor can help you, it becomes a very limited area of work. It is siloed into different functions, different departments, and then even if your products, your geographies, it basically the same function performing in one country may not be the same in the second country, and the different systems come into picture even though the data is same. So when it becomes say for example, I can give you a retail banking customers example. Right? You can hold multiple products from the same bank, But when it comes to my portfolio, I have my data is spread across 5 different systems. When this is an institutional banking customer, again, you have a parent account and then you have multiple child accounts in multiple geographies based on the funds that I am holding. And all these things becomes multiple sources of the data that I want to look at. When I want, as a business decision maker, I want to make a decision or I want to predict something, I want to see the whole portfolio together. So that itself become a very bigger issue to bring all this data together. And it takes enormous efforts to bring all these data to single portfolio because you want to run your analytics on a consolidated data. You want to run your machine learning models on top of it. And then you understand how to serve this client better. What is the next best product that I can sell to this client? Which market should I approach? And what recommendations can I provide to this customer? Right? I, for one, strongly believe that the operations teams and the frontline warriors can be put on the driver's seat when it comes to business decision making. So this can be a call center agent who's picking up the client's call, or to solve a problem or to address an inquiry, or an operations team who has to make a business as usual decision that they have to make. This can only happen when the data is democratized, and at the same time it is also available in a consolidated format. Say you have multiple functions, you have multiple products, you have multiple geographies. But when I am a relationship manager, I want to look at my client's entire portfolio from all these systems together in one place. And if the machine is going to run a model and give me the next best course of action, then that has to be not on the siloed data, but at the whole portfolio level. For this, there must be fundamental changes to the data architecture backed by strong data management and data governance frameworks. Not only just moving, it's not like, you lift and shift to cloud. Like Ashok mentioned, it is not all applications are compatible to cloud. Not all systems are ready for it. So you have to do a lot of data prep at the back. You have to do a data audit, find out where the data is coming from, why it is collected, how it is collected, what is the purpose of collection those. So all these things should be considered before you actually move on to the cloud. But again, what I see happening in the industry is that within a bigger bank or within a bigger financial services company, there are multiple people who are willing to do, or there are some people who are not willing to. So what happens is, it is not an enterprise holistic discussion and decision that is made on the cloud transition. It is again going in silos. So while I welcome the point that multi-cloud system is good, but when it comes to a client's lens, I think the decision has to be taken together at the top. That should be
Wonderful. Vidya, wonderfully explained. And especially, I think what you are explaining is the data orchestration. And especially when I talk about data and when you are given the examples of the banking and finance industry, I think this is the biggest retail example one can talk about when you assimilate the data and then and see it as a lenses which can be clearly understood. Vidya, very well explained. I will go to the next question and then I'll come back to you on that next question. Back to you, Vidya. And the next question is to Anil. Anil, how do you mobilize your data for deeper insights and real-time decision? I think retail as a industry and in today's sense, a data-driven approach would be one of the biggest point of CIO's contention to your organizations. So over to you, Anil, for this question.
Thanks, Maria. And you're rightly saying that the data is the oil and it's the pain also. Let me put it that way. I'll take words from Ashok, which spoke data is going to be the pain also. Because if you do not read the data right, you can go other way, both sides of the coin, right? It's a two-edged sword. If you do it right, you go get good. If you don't, you don't. So I will take 2 or 3 points from here, Maria. One about a part of hybrid, an analogy which we always hear, you and me are very vulnerable to this, is offline and online. That was an age where people used to cry about online will kill offline, offline will kill online, and all of that. Today, both sustains with each other, right? Both collaborate with each other. I think sooner or later, cloud, hybrid, and all of that which we speak about just goes seamlessly. It will be just a single word. I am not sure what the word will be coined out, but that will be just a single word, right? That's where the whole data is going on. And when I say data, there are three aspects to it if I have to look at it. One, your strategy to this data, retail data. Okay, you have touch points which is capturing it. There are multiple channels which are coming up. You have words like omni-channel, D2C, you name it, and you have all the jargons in retail, right? Now, how do you strategize yourself to make sure that you're in a relevant path? Because it is very easy to lose your direction in this data world, right? That's something which will come, and that, as I'll take a word from where Vidya spoke about, is an organizational approach towards the strategy. It can't be in silos for sure, right? The second point which I come to is the security of this data, right? How well are you managing this data internally for yourself and for the customers? Because we are very open to the customer. We are the front end warriors, when if I have to say, to the customer, and people trust brands on this value. How do you manage this part of it? And that also, when you say decision and strategy, this word comes for sure: security. Where do you keep it? How do you keep it? How relevant it is, so on and so forth. The third aspect to this is the skill sets. Your resource skill sets is very key. You may do the best of the AIs, you may do the best of the data security, you may do the best of optimization of data, and so on and so forth. But if your resource skill set doesn't understand it, it's of no use. It's of no use. If you can't take action to this data, it is of no use. No matter you're in a data center like us or in a hybrid cloud, wherever you are. So that's where I will put these three pillars to it. One is strategy, one is the security and compliances, and third is your resource skill set. How ready are you to adopt this data?
Great, Anil. I think great insights. With you on the same question, deeper insights, real-time decision. You have given some examples, but give some 3-4 use cases in banking and finance, basically for the audience to get the stickiness in terms of what the data can actually derive for us. If you can give us some 3-4 examples on the same point.
Sure. In fact, we call data is the new fuel. So what happened in the last decade or so is that organizations, was busy collecting this in every possible way. Because we have got a new toy, and people said that it is wonderful, like a Barbie and her dream house. The new toy is basically the better and cheaper storage. So everybody found that, okay, I can store a lot of data, so let's collect data. So everyone started collecting it for winter days. But the winter days came and went, and it's still going on in circles. But there is enough data. But what exactly do you do with that data? In fact, some organizations even have more than enough data. They store it for over 5-6 years or even a decade worth of data. So what next? Simply having the data is not going to enable those exceptional customers experiences or faster decision making. Basically, those are the end users that we want to put the data into. So this needs work. So the activation of the data is what will be the next step. So first, you understand the data. I just mentioned a few minutes back that what we have to audit the data, which is basically what data you're collecting, why is it being collected, how is it being stored, and who can access this data. Once you do this basic audit of your data, then next step would be, how do we consolidate this data to make it more comprehensive and use case friendly? Not only user friendly, but use case friendly. So data needs to be tagged. It has to be transformed into a digital format if it is not there yet, wherever it is necessary, and consolidate that into a single lake. So then you ask the question, how can we make this data work for us? Because democratization of data will make your operations easier or your frontline decision making easier. The second way of utilizing the data is basically monetize your data. Monetize is always not equivalent to cash. It's not cash equivalent, but it also helps you to make say finer decisions, which for your naked eye probably it is not visible, but your data and the analytics that you put on top of that, that will give you the results. So analytics serves the purpose here for both your internal customer, that is your employees, and also your external customers. So and I would call analytics simply a precursor to AI and machine learning, because analytics and AI hold enormous potential to help organizations of all kinds to make the data, make the data work for you. That's how I will put it. So use cases. When it comes to use cases, the very popular one in the retail banking sector is the build of a propensity base. And let me talk about the sales for some time, and then I'll come to the operations. So when you talk about sales, earlier we used to get a lot of cold calls. How hopefully everybody has seen the reduction in the last 5 to 6 years. Because I used to be one of them. I started my career as a cold call executive, so I know the pain of reaching the customer and getting the information out of the customer. So, and I've been on the other side also. When I get these calls and when I get these SMS, I really feel pity for the person who's calling, because it is not going to work for them. I don't need that product or the loan that they are offering. So propensity base is the first utilization that can be immediately done. Pick up the variables that the attributes that you want, because you have the customer, the first party data with you. Pick up the right attributes which will come from your domain experts, and apply that, and bring out only the 10% of the entire mass which is going to say yes to your product. That's the propensity based easy example. When you talk about operations always run on bottom line. How do I reduce my cost? How do I make my operations processes effective? So in order to identify that, your analytics will help you there. How? Because now that I have all these data synchronized in one place, I can run my analytics to find out where are the touch points, where are the problematic areas, where is manual working, where is automated way of working is useful. So if I'm asking my client to do everything online, is it 100%? Is all the, are all the locations able to utilize that? Probably not. Find out from your data. Your data can easily do that, because if I get stuck in an online transaction, what am I supposed to do next? I will call the call center. I'm increasing one more touch point. That person may or may not be able to serve me. So it goes to the next level, to the departments where the problem has to be fixed. So you are increasing your touch points when your online platform is not efficient enough, or it is not able to solve its own problems. So I recently read one of this article which was talking about a particular use case which Accenture had done to identify. It's a telecom example. They identify their model. They built their AI models on top of the customer data for all these decade worth of data that they have collected, and they anticipate the problems which the client is going to call you about. And while they are using the one of the trying to call you, they are immediately identifying and sending a push notification, giving the online digital options to them, so that they can immediately hang up the call and start doing it on their own if they are not aware of the channel. And even they are proposing certain push notifications where they have identified the problem and there is a plausible solution which is following. So all these things can be done with the data that you have collected over the decade. So these are the few use cases that I can think of. And I know there is no end to it. I can go on about it. We'll get back to that.
You've done more than justice to the use cases. Wonderfully explained. I'll move to Syed, then to Ashok. Syed, I think अपना रोल ये है कि डेटा को इंटेलिजेंट बनाना है. And basically, when I talk about intelligence, is the only thing data can deliver. So over to you, Syed, for this question.
I started this journey of analytics from 2012, I suppose. When we are talking about cloud, the AWS was also not present that time. Now we are taking end-to-end solutions. At that time, I need to take pieces from storage, all that to create some ecosystems. Okay, See, making data intelligence is a long journey, Marian. Okay, so it is. We need to build a proper basics to it. First of all, how to collect the data, okay, and how to store it properly. How to churn that data, how to build applications, layers like AI, machine learning over it. Okay, it is a journey. Okay, and it differs from business to business. Okay, so and maybe entertainment business is different for BFSI. It is different for the manufacturing. It is different because it depends on the kind of business you are into, kind of data you are injecting into the system, and what kind of results you want into data. So I see only three major aspects we should work on. One is better user experience, be it internal or external. That should be the the first priority while you are collecting data and churning out of it. The second point is automation. Okay, how much automation you can make using the AI engines and all that, so that you can serve the end customers better, or you identify the user churning, or you identify who is going out, who is coming in, all that aspects. Eventually, the third point is all these two will lead to increase of revenues. Ultimately, data पालना एक बहुत बड़ा खर्चा है.
Yep.
So end to end, it is expensive things, especially for the organization who are having huge data, and even having a that big data has a different meaning already. You do not have to always have a big data, large volume of data, but how you are using that data for the benefit of your organization is the prime importance, correct? So of course it is a journey, and it should be planned well, and it will take time to come to the level where you can say yes, we are fueling our business using our data and increasing our revenues.
Sayed, well said.
Fuel should be right. We cannot fill diesel into a petrol engine. So that should be a first target for any of the CIOs. Then the next, how to run the vehicle.
Very well summarized. Very well summarized. So I'll move next to Ashok. I think Ashok, innovation and modernizing data application scalable to cloud is something that we are doing, and that is our challenge. And I think some bits you covered earlier also, but I would like you to take on this question. Basically, how and what to innovate, and innovate in terms of modernizing the data application, which can be scalable onto the cloud. So over to you, Ashok.
Yeah, so I think I think some of the main points I have already covered. Yeah, you're right. Obviously, because it's a very connected questions and the whole topic, right? So yeah, so I think very important is the whole perspective of why the applications were made. Like 10 years before and today and tomorrow is different, because objective of application earlier was just to transact, just to keep some basic statutory stuff and going, and some reports and things like that. Now it has really gone to different levels. The whole objective is to create differentiation, create better customer experience. It's gone much beyond operation excellence and all. It's all now given. So if that is so, then we all will understand what actually is required to power these applications. If this is the type of expectation from the application which the business has got, then what type of applications are needed, and what type of infrastructure and what type of platforms can power this application is again linked. So all this, if you really put together and stitch together, the answer will become obvious that many of our in-house homegrown type of applications will not fit the bill, because they are really made for different purposes. They were thought through in a different manner as far as the business results are concerned. So that is one of the key driver, which is actually really funneling this, because end of the day, technology is great. We need to modernize application, because it has to. If you go and tell your CFO or the MD, say that yes sir, we want to modernize the application because it has to go into cloud. He is not going to give you money. If you go and tell him, okay, I am going to get you this results. This is going to make this differentiation coming into the business. This is going to take the customer experience from this level to that level. If that discussion, then it cuts ice. So that is going to be the prime driver of the whole change, and all the technologies like cloud and all that is actually funneling it. So basically, if we have a great idea, if you have a great sort of thought through application, and if it is getting modernized from a business point of view, which is very different, cloud is actually a big highway where it can run. That's a car, and cloud then becomes the highway where that application can run seamlessly. So that is the way I would like to look at it, not from a very IT perspective. It is end of the day, what the business wants is going to be surviving, and it's going to prevail. It's not just what you and I want. It is what cuts ice as far as differentiation, what the bottom line is concerned.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the good points which you mentioned is today, look at the perspective from the business value. And that's going to be very, very important as an approach we should all take. So I'll go to the next question, and that could be one of the points which for all of us can then contribute and talk about, starting from Anil, is empowering transformation with a unified data strategy. See, today, I think strategy is one of our main way that how we can look at data, how do we use it within the organization and effectively create a great amount of value, because all this obviously has got a commercial point linked and spend linked from a company perspective. So Anil, I think this question is important for us to look at in terms of answering for all our listeners, and then I'll move to Syed and Vidya and then Ashok so that we can get all the perspectives. Over to you, Anil.
Sure, Mayur. And rightly said, empowering transformation. We are hearing this word called a digital transformation continuously from when the pandemic started and so on and so forth. While it was there in everyone's strategy, but it just got preponed, if I have to call it so-called. The one big thing which will have a success ratio for your transformation is how much of your business is involved in the transformation. Is it an IT project, IT transformation, or is it a business transformation? If you show value to your end user, the empowerment which we are pushing in by doing this unified strategy, you will have a larger perspective of the data, and also you will have lot of productivity improvement, cost optimization, and also so-called, as Ashok said, the KPIs of business will hit the right ratios, right? So basically it goes back to the element which is showing the empowerment to the end user, telling them what it means to them as unified strategy. We call it in our organization big words and all of it, but have you drilled down it to the last person sitting who's really getting affected of the data? That's one part of it. And I think again I will go back to that same thing from an IT standpoint of view, part of the coin. You will see the cost optimization. How much of data should you really carry? Is it really required or not? Even the end user will tell you how much you should be carrying, because he's doing it day in, day out. So he will be the right person to tell you how much are you carrying with you, or how much should you carry with you. That gives a lot of bandwidth in terms of pockets, in terms of mileage to that tool, the application, the strategy. That's what I'll say, Maria.
Right, Anil. So I think it was serious strategy discussed at the board level, right? And that's happening with all our companies. So over to you, Syed, for the same question.
Pointed out a very good aspects, which I totally agree. Any transformations, be it data, be it anything, should carry a business goals, okay? And it should be organization wide. It should not be in silos. You have to have a right people doing it, and indeed all of your entire business management has to be part of it. Okay, so for any digital transformation success, this can be the fuel. Okay, on the technology part of it, I would say migrating to cloud, which the example I have taken in my previous stint. I myself, seen lots of business value, lots of cost optimization in my 7 to 8 years of that transformation journey, especially on the analytics and data-driven approach. While starting from piece to piece kind of a design to entirely end-to-end cloud native transformation, I see lots of business values. Okay, so internally, all CIOs have to improve agility, launch new initiatives to any to fuel that transformation. Mitigate on-premise aspects, application modernization. We have just spoken a few time, few time back. That unlocks the business value. Okay, re-architect and rebuild applications. This is ongoing process. The transformation cannot be done one time. It is ongoing process. Again, I would say it's a journey.
Great, Syed. Over to you, Vidya.
Empowering is a very good word. I would say that when you talk about any kind of transformation, whether it is a business transformation or a digital transformation, or for that matter, IT is more an enabler in most of the cases. So I would call digital transformation when it involves the customer, business transformation when it involves your employees. I tend to look at it as a three-way approach. The first one is the top down. We have all heard about, top level, board level decision making, which trickles down to the layers. The second one is bottom up, which is basically your end, whether it is your client or your customers or your employees who are working at the ground level. That's your bottom up approach. And the third one is middle out, which basically is the middle layers, one or two or probably even three in some cases, where there are middle managers who actually handle both upwards and downwards. So this is these three-way approaches is something which is very much required in any kind of transformation. This is not purely my, I tend to agree with these approaches. This is basically Thomas Davenport's approach to any kind of transformations, whether it is your analytics projects that you're coming with or your digital projects that you're coming with. The reason why I tend to agree, and I've seen this happening within the the organizations where I have worked, is that not all decisions had to be made at the top level and thrusted upon to the on the people who are at the ground level. It may or may not be accurate. The reason being, at the end of the day, you hold the purse strings at the top, but the end user is the bottom layer who actually goes through with that day in, day out. So considering this, they have to be part of your decision making. So whether it is your top down approach also, just take your views from both the bottom up and the middle layer. Why middle layer? Middle out approach is nothing but people who are handling both up and down, right? So they know these, they become the domain experts who are interacting with other teams in the same layer or up or down, and getting things done for you. Your managers, basically managers who are getting things done for you. How difficult or easy for them it will be when you make all these transformations done. So when you take those decisions based on these three approaches and also include your cost and bottom line and top line in between, that becomes your holistic solution for the entire vertical that you're talking about. I'm not even going into the enterprise level, which of course, when it comes to bigger decisions like moving into cloud or changing your on-prem to hybrid cloud or multi-cloud, you still need all these people to help you with that decision making. That is true empowering, because they are part of the decision making. It also serves one more purpose, which is basically you're bringing in the culture that everybody is involved in it. Everybody has skin in the game, so they will accept it. Even in a percentage wise, it will be more than the expected level when it only trickles down from top down. That is one aspect, with the culture aspect which comes in, which will be easier for the transformation, because it is all now everybody has a stake at the decision. So you have made the decision yourself, so you put up with it. That's one aspect which I want to add on the empowering part.
Vidya, I think you're talking about a winning strategy, transformation, and just a wow approach. You've given us true mantra for all of us. So over to you, Ashok. I think same question. You can give your inputs.
All right. So data strategy is actually a sort of a niche subject today. I mean, to be honest, everybody talks about application strategy, everybody talks about infrastructure strategy, but data strategy is actually very important because of various things. Because end of the day, it's a topic on its own, but I somehow feel that many times it is not given its due sort of importance. So if you really look at how the complete data modeling should happen, what all data we should actually sort of harness, how it needs to be harnessed, what should be the sort of data governance principles, how the whole, what type of what is cold data, what is hot data, what is like moving data, what is the data for your analytics, and how is the data for this thing, all that has to be actually thought through. But then the challenge is, biggest challenge is getting business guys agree to such long discussions is also actually a big challenge, because they are not really bothered about what data strategy you are doing and all that. Okay, but they want results and they want their stuff to happen. So and then so if you talk too much, then what will happen? Some what do you call some other system will just come on, and you will not even know that system somebody has subscribed to something. So all these things can happen, and it's a reality. It's not that doesn't happen. And then as Vidya was talking about, like being not being able to sort of take enterprise-wide data, calls, enterprise-wide decisions, which is actually the biggest challenge. Because you understand the larger picture, you try to appreciate the larger picture, you try to build a big story, but every function and every location or every business unit or profit center has their own challenges. So they are not really, I mean, while they are bothered about the organization level things and all that, but then they are very concerned about their own KRAs for the year and for the quarter or whatever they're chasing. So sometimes so things go overboard, and you have shadow IT coming up somewhere. Something is getting set up, and then later only you come to know, oh, what is this? Why never knew about this? It happens, and I've seen it happening in all sort of companies. It be global companies, small companies, big company, all sort of companies have seen all this type of challenges. So actually, CIOs, I mean, it's actually a big challenge to sort of manage this in such a way that it doesn't slow down your things. You are able to sort of engage them, persuade them, motivate them to sort of participate and make them appreciate the larger picture as to how this data strategy will help them in long term. So that is the job or the challenge I think all of us have to sort of sell. It's a very difficult selling, but then that's how it is. And if you are able to sell that, the organization is going to reap benefits in the years to come. But otherwise, you may get some benefit for sure. Whatever they do, it's not that it's not going to come with benefit, but long term, we will end. I mean, many of the times you will really feel that some of the times I have also felt that we go into an analytics project, somewhere you figure out that this master data is not matching with that master data because it is not actually synchronized, because there is no MDM. So then you understand, how do I actually sort of marry both these things? That becomes another job. So it becomes actually because there was no data strategy. So these are all long-term effects which it doesn't come up on the top. Everything looks okay when a new system is getting set up, but as the things progresses, and when you take larger calls and bigger pictures, then the cracks start surfacing. So, and that's where it is actually a very difficult thing. But yes, you can't avoid it. And if you and I strongly feel that if you are able to sell this whole idea of data strategy and get this moved, that is going to be one of the greatest and strongest pillars for enabling transformation.
True,
can
Ashok,
I just
I think
add
well said.
a small
Sure,
point?
Vidya. Sure, Vidya.
Okay. So what Facebook does is that they have a three-pronged approach whenever they get into strategy. The first, the year, the goals that you want to do for the same year. The next step for you, say the recent acquiring of WhatsApp and merging that with Facebook. So that was into the second zone of it. And the third one is more to do with bigger strategies at innovation level. What I can do, to eliminate a bigger issue, and it becomes a 3 to 5 year project. So what you're saying, Ashok, is absolutely right. The data strategy always comes between the second zone and the third zone. It doesn't come in the first zone itself, which means you can't start reaping your results right away in the first year. So when you said that when you can, if you can sell this idea to the top management, you're good to go. So how do you sell this? Is that basically it is going to take 3 to 5 years. The roadmap is laid down, but you also give them a confidence that every end of every year you will be able to reap this much of the bigger outcome. If you are able to commit to that, saying that I will deliver this smaller piece for you, although you can expect this bigger piece after 5 years, this smaller piece will help you to do this, or the benefits are going to be, or your approach is going to be probably, the geographies. You are approaching Asia for the first, and then you can move into Europe, and then you can move into Americas. So if you are able to break that down into your zone, even though it is going to be a data strategy for 5 years, people will tend to agree to you, and their budget allocation for each of those years will also be easier for them. Okay, because I am going to spend 50 million on this, so I'm going to get this outcome out of this. So if that is the approach that people can follow, I think it's easier to get get confirmations or approvals or whatever. You basically take them into your wagon from between first year to the fifth year. That approach should be
Great,
applied.
Vidya. Great additional points. I think it's a great learning for all of us. And I think the takeaway is that the role of data intelligence, data strategy, and the future is quite bright. And I think it's something that will mature over a period of time, transform itself, and one of the big points which I would like to say, it will deliver value to every organization. I think that's something that is well understood by all of us, and I think it's a great amount of insight to all the listeners. So ending this panel, I would like to have one sentence from all of you to talk about data intelligence and the role of data intelligence. If you can summarize in one single line, it would be great, and then we will wind up. Over to you, Sayed. We can start from you.
Yeah, in one simple word, it should be organizational wide and carry business goals.
Anil?
No, it should be empowering, in the sense that the end user should be a part of the business deals and the strategy.
Vidya, what about you?
I would say data synchronization is to be the key for transforming, making your data work for you.
Right, and the parting words of Ashok.
Yeah, I think it's a interesting one, but also I've got so many things coming to my mind. So I think data can really differentiate you, and the ability to sort of harness the data and use the data can really put you into different league.
Superb. Thank you, all my panelists. Wonderful session. And I hope this creates a great amount of value to our listeners. Thank you so much. And we'll wind up here. Bye.
Thank you, Mehdi.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.